Howdy, everyone from Texas. Came out here to see Sully, and his little black buck friend was out here. And he's right over here, messing with my ponytail. Yeah, just being a silly boy. Oh yeah. He was napping out here under this tree, so I'd figure I'd walk out and do a video because I haven't done one in a while. Fortunately, life's been crazy, I've been sick, and so I've got a lot of catching up to do. So, anyway, Misty Sleepyhead. So what I wanted to talk about in this video was connection. Specifically, staying connected in your relationship with Christ. In the Bible, it says to be praying without ceasing, and sometimes, that's hard to do, and, we say that, Sully, he doesn't want Bucky in the camera. And sometimes that can be hard to do. What does it mean to pray without ceasing? To constantly be working on a relationship with God and in communication with Him. And I think a pretty good analogy, especially for all of my horse riders out there, is the connection that you have to have with your horse when you're riding, specifically what we call your seat. So if you're new to riding or you're getting back into it, the first thing you have to learn is to balance on your horse and how to use your seat to stay centered within the saddle, as well as be working in tune when your horse is moving out. And that's easier said than done. It's really not quite as simple as you would think. And so when you're just starting out, you can kind of become overwhelmed about some of the things that you're thinking about. Because as you're going, you're like, oh, okay, I'm balanced, and then maybe your horse stumbles a little bit or changes his gait a little bit, and you realize, oh nope, I lost balance. And then when you're balanced, you realize, oh well, maybe my heels are coming up, and so you fix that, and then you realize, well, maybe my hands are wrong, and pulling the reins too far back or something. There's just a whole lot going around in your mind when you're first learning to ride, and the most important part of that is keeping your seat. And believe it or not, I think a bug's coming up behind me. Believe it or not, the horse can actually feel your seat bones in the saddle. So he knows when you're centered, and he can feel you kind of, like people say, to push with your seat or drive with your seat to get the horse to move off. And really, when it comes down to it, your seat is the biggest factor in getting your horse to move. Everybody, sees the Westerns and think, oh, it's just kick and pull on reins, and it's really not. It's a balance between everything. But your seat is the most important part. Bye, Bucky. It's too much for him. Anyway, like I was saying, so when you're first learning, you really you're overwhelmed with stuff that you have to be concentrating on. And it can be hard to really understand what it means to just keep your balance. And, trainers or somebody who's helping you will be like, okay, well, you gotta have strong stomach muscles. But at the same time, you've got to be relaxed and be deep in the saddle. And it can be very frustrating. So like right now, for me personally, like I was sick for a while, and like I said before, I still consider myself pretty new with horses, which still translates into my riding. So I'm constantly, when I'm riding, I'm like, okay, I don't feel connected in the seat. I'm getting too tense, so I'm popping out more and I'm bouncing. Or I wasn't really paying attention and the horse moves slightly in a different direction and I go the other way. You know, and you don't want that. You want to get to the point where eventually you don't even have to think about your seat. It just comes natural. You can flow with the horse at all of his gaits, the walk, the trot, and the lope. And, you know, that way that you can move on to more advanced things, you know. But when you're just starting out, you have to constantly remind yourself, where's my seat? Where's my connection? Am I paying attention to the horse? Is the horse paying attention to me? And that's kind of, I believe, a good analogy for Christians, especially, you know, like new ones that are just starting out. You're like, how am I supposed to, you know, start following these, quote, rules? How am I supposed to, like, not mess up, you know? As a new Christian, sometimes you kind of feel a pressure to, you know, live life a different way. You know, so how do I do that without, you know, getting angry as I'm driving on the freeway and somebody cuts me off? You know, how do I change? How to become different? Showing off for y'all. And the answer to that would be staying connected with God throughout the day. So it's constantly checking yourself and be like, okay, you know, am I living my life the way that, you know, I want to? Or am I applying God's laws to my life? Am I taking what I read in my devotion? Am I applying that today? And what did God say to me during that time? Because it's too easy just to kind of, you know, have our little quiet time or go to church and then close the Bible and then that's it. And then we just kind of go about our day and ignore God. And we can't do that. We aren't going to change. We're never going to improve as a Christian or get really deep until we learn how to stay connected with God throughout the day, which is very similar to staying connected with your horse and your seat. It's just kind of like the basic ABCs. And I mean, you can be riding horses for years and never develop a good seat. You could always bounce around, you know. You can get away with it. I mean, you won't really, because you won't be improving. But it takes effort in order to improve. And it takes conscious thought of what you're doing, of how to stay balanced, how to ride the horse, how to feel him. And it's the same thing in Christianity. You have to constantly remind yourself in your walk and say, okay, where's God? Where's me? What are we doing? How does this feel? Do I feel like, you know, we're connected? Did I lose the connection a little bit? Do I need to come back? Or am I kind of on cruise control and I'm not really paying attention to God and, you know, I'm doing my own thing? Which I'll catch myself doing as I'm riding. I get a little relaxed and I'm not really paying attention. And, you know, then my horse doesn't pay attention and, you know, just don't really know where we're going. We're just kind of cruising along, but, you know, not really focusing. And that can be a dangerous situation, like if something popped out, you know, and I wasn't expecting it. and the horse runs off and, dumps me because I wasn't staying balanced. Well, that can happen in life. We can be not really paying attention and kind of lose our connection from God, and then something happens, during the day that takes us by surprise, and then we're like, oh, God, where are you? And it's our fault because we weren't paying attention. We weren't staying connected. God's not going to run off and leave you, but we can certainly walk away and not be paying attention. Also, I guess a little side note or tangent on that would be that connection is something people can try to explain to you. They can share their personal experience and what they do. But when it comes down to it, nobody can really can tell you what the key is to how to hear God's voice and how to stay focused on Him throughout the day. It's just something that you have to consciously put effort into every day. Which to me, again, is similar with developing your seat with a horse. You can have a trainer tell you kind of like the steps of things you should be thinking about, things that you should be doing with your body, how the horse moves. But all the books and lectures and clinics in the whole world can't really teach you how to keep your balance on a horse as good as a horse can. You just have to put the time in personally and work on it, every day, little bit by little bit. Yes, people can help guide you. Certainly they can. But no person can be a substitution for actually getting out there and doing it and putting personal time and investment in it. It's the same thing with your walk in Christ. You can go to church. You can read all the self-help books that you want to, and you can have people pray for you and counseling. But in order to get that deep connection, that goes on day by day, you have to just get in there and do it. You have to spend time with God and learn what His voice is like, and learn, what you need to do throughout the day to remind you that He's there, that you're His, that your life isn't your own, and how to apply His teachings in your life. Nobody can tell you how to do that yourself. It just takes time. It takes getting out there and doing it. So I'm sorry that was pretty kind of random and my thoughts a little disconnected. Really trying to do this without scripting it, and maybe I should. Doesn't always flow the way that I want it to. But the bottom line, and I hope y'all understand, is that just like a rider needs to understand the rhythm of their horse and how to stay in tune with him and balanced and have that relationship where you're both communicating with each other, that it's the same thing with your walk in Christ. You have to spend time, you have to get in the Word, and you have to listen and look for Him all throughout the day, not just 20 minutes in the morning and once on Sunday. That relationship and that connection is what grows and develops you as a rider, as a Christian, and it's what allows you to move on to deeper things. So I hope that helps some. I hope that y'all can kind of follow the little rabbit trails that I went on, and hope that it can bless you. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.